All right, let's go ahead and get started. Could I get a designated note taker for today?
I'm happy to volunteer.
I really appreciate that. Let's jump right into the outstanding RFCs. It's two that are in draft right now. I have not had any time to work on the decoupled dependencies build pack RFC. I just have been busy with other stuff. So I have no updates on that. And then there's a proposal to publish multi-arch build packs. Are there any updates on your end here, Darko?
Nothing to add here. I guess I can just kind of like talk about. We've been chatting about this in Slack, and I noticed that the Java build packs have added ARM dependencies, but they've done it in a way where they're not using, like they're using the Perl to like add an architecture and then from there somehow determine it. Like the build pack has some logic that just loops through the list of dependencies and finds one that has the arch that matches it. Um, Sophie's here, so it's probably good that you're joining. For kind of like moving forward, I don't know if there's any plan to figure out. You know, there was another RFC that got approved and merged, and I think that one talked about adding an architecture and OS element to the build pack toml. I don't know if there's any plan to like add that, but or if we're going to kind of use the whole Perl arch thing. But basically, I feel like some kind of decision needs to be made on how to move forward, and if you're going to implement the new RFC, like start with one build pack somewhere, even if it's like something net new that's not even being used anywhere. But long story short, I feel like the publishing multi-arch build packs is still really important in order to be able to like test everything. It's kind of like the chicken and the egg problem. So I think in order for me to add more information into this RFC and like take it out of draft and move forward, I just need to know what direction you guys want to move in terms of architecture and where we specify, how we specify it, and build back to etc.
I guess there's actually the merged RFC that you were referring to, which I also see as a precondition for the dependency decoupling thing, which is a specification that all Paketo build packs should follow in terms of how they specify their dependencies. I think it's not a small feat because there's actually two Go packages, like two libraries that also need to actually learn to read this metadata before you can start using it in build packs, right? I guess neither libpack nor packet has yet seen any change in terms of implementing that RFC. It still sounds a bit like maybe that's the direction we should try to go into, unless everything really has the stuff in Perl. Then I would also understand if that's a shortcut to take, but I think it's actually piling up technical debt, which we should very consciously do, I'd say. It might be the right step, right? Because I don't know how involved the change in libpack and packet is, including changing all the existing build packs to follow this specification. But it is a merged RFC, so I think there would be no blockers in pursuing that. But I can't really judge in terms of how much effort that is compared to like using something that is already there, right? Like, I mean, if the pearls actually contain architecture, I'd understand to take this as a faster route.
Yeah,
I assume in addition to like libpack and packet jam is the equivalent that some other ones use. Is that, or is it others as well?
Yeah, jam would is something that does modify the build pack toml. I believe though it is dependent on the upstream for jam. It's dependent on packet.
Okay.
Like that, it uses packet to parse everything. So I think that that's something that we would have to add. I don't know. So I don't want to get too in the weeds. This is something that, at least on the Broadcom side, we have started to take a look at. as well. Sophie, have you been working on any of that, or has that been someone else taking a look at AMD 64 work? ARM 64, not AMD 64, excuse me.
Yeah, I'm just trying to right now. No one's working on it on our side. I'm trying to understand exactly like what's being worked on, what I can do, where we're blocked. So this exact conversation is what I was looking for.
Yeah.
But it sounds like we need to find a path forward for like these fields in the build pack TOML, as well as getting the builder set up and getting runner infrastructure set up from Chris Clark to fully unblock ourselves.
I think that Jan, you are correct insofar as I think that us using Perl at this point would be just adding technical debt because it would be adopting a solution that we would want to change. I think that if we were really trying to make a step forward on this, what I would advise is to find a way to make the format that was adopted as part of the RFC part of, like a part of the ecosystem. So building up parsing and whatnot for that. And yeah, that's what I would recommend, I think.
Okay. So I guess, I mean, if the discussion around like moving forward and like, not piling up technical debt is all happening right now, maybe this RFC should be taken out of draft, and maybe I should just not really focus on the implementation of Buildpack TOML and just that we want to publish multi-arch build packs. I mean, like, I think there's kind of like a bunch of RFCs that are all trying to do something very similar. And, if the goal of this RFC is we need to start publishing multi-arch build packs in order to enable the ecosystem to be tested and et cetera, then maybe we should just move forward with this. Another thing that I kind of like mentioned to Sophie in Slack is that when we've been doing this stuff internally, we use a build pack list builder to test everything. So you can actually move forward and have like a build pack list builder that you maybe test with like a shell build pack that is easy to use, that you compile locally. And that way you don't have any dependencies on anything else. And it just makes it easy to have a self-contained build pack that you can then rely on to then test your multi-arch build packs.
I think the thing that will probably need to be figured out relatively soon is just the orchestration of the images themselves. So like, as it stands for a good number of our images, we, publish like for like the packet stuff, we publish a .cmb file. Like, how does the tagging of this look? How do we because unlike the builder or the stacks, right? We can't have a manifest because we have to have actually different bits inside of each image because we have to cross compile once for x86 and once for ARM64. So what do we release? How do we push things to the registry? That sort of thing. I think that's something that'll have to be figured out pretty soon. In order for us to even get to a place where we are publishing these images, like beyond even just being able to make them, but publish them, that's going to have to be something that's figured out.
So is that something you want in this scope of this RFC? Would that be this RFC, I think, is just trying to say, let's move forward with this. And I think we all agree. So if you want to iron out whether we want to be publishing artifacts as releases that are multi-arch, et cetera, basically, I just want to make sure, make this helpful.
If this build pack or if this RFC becomes a all of us giving thumbs up on the fact that we do actually want to support ARM, sure, that's fine. I guess I don't know that it's an RFC that 100% needs to exist at that point. Jan, I don't know how you feel about that, but I do think that having some, and you have something in here around how the binaries will be built out and how we tag the image. This is stuff that I am interested in, right? I guess anyway, I it's been a while since I've read this, so I probably need to go through and reread this RFC. soon, and then I will be able to better comment on anything about it. Um, I guess my question is like, it seems like what we would do is we would have like sort of two separate tags, one AMD 64, one ARM 64, and then would we be able to release those as a single like 3.6 image? Like, it's looking like that.
Yeah, no. So I mean, I think what I was showing there is like you can do the separate architecture tags, but like probably you don't want to do that. You probably just want to release the one tag for whatever image you want, like 3.6 dot whatever, and that's just a multi-arch image. And then when someone pulls, they just get the right one for their platform, and that's it.
All right. And would there be any way for us to? I'm just sorry. I'm going to get a little in the weeds about this. Would there be any way for us to still publish a physical, like a CMB file or something like, or like that sort of thing?
Yeah, you mean, but where are you publishing this? You're talking about on the releases page in GitHub?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the part where I think you guys need to decide, like, if you're going to continue to do that, are you going to publish an that's when you start saying -amd64.cnb
Okay.
or not. You know, like I think you guys need to make a decision about that, or you need to draw a line in the sand and say we're only publishing AMD64 artifacts. You want multi-art, you have to use images. That's, I mean, like you can make a decision about that.
I think okay. I think that's worth calling out. So what we would be able to do? Excuse me, sorry. What we would be able to do is we would be able to generate at build time, right? We would be able to generate, I guess, 2 images, push those somewhere, and then create a third image with the manifest to those 2 images. Is that the idea?
Yeah, actually, I have a script that, in the same way that you guys produce a CNB file, I have a script that I've written locally that would produce a multi-arch image artifact that you could then upload and then re-download from another job. So you could actually publish a CNB, multi-arch CNB image. That's, I think it's an OCI image. So if you wanted to do that, you could also do that. But then people consuming it, I don't know, like they might have some kind of like, I don't know how many people are consuming the
Sure.
artifact in that way. So, but it, you know, you'd have to start saying from now on we're publishing multi-arch CNB files, and
I think that I think it's something interesting that we could talk through. I think that it's something that where like we could just start publishing like tar files, like tar zips that are just because I like TGCs that just have the correct binaries in each one of them. They haven't been like compiled into CNBs after that. We could just like yeah, I think there's a couple of things that we could do. But yeah, knowing more about the workflow, like the proposed workflow on how to actually publish these images so that they're consumable as images, because I think that's where I think when we were first doing this, a lot of people were pulling down CNBs as artifacts and doing that. But now that there's like the Buildpacks registry and that sort of thing, which is basically what we propose people use, because why wouldn't you? And it's all on Docker Hub. I'm not 100% concerned about that. Like I'm not really concerned about, what CMB artifact are we publishing as part of our releases? We would have to figure that out, but understanding the workflow of getting the things onto a registry is what I would really like to have a deeper understanding of.
Which is like where like the unfortunate situation, if I got it right, and I'm not very closely watching it, is that's all in flight all at once, right? I mean, the upstream CNB project is working on tooling that will actually just do it, right? Without any manual work. It will just say, here's publish it. And if there's multiple architectures somewhere, then it's just doing that for multiple architectures, right? And creating that index image or what this thing is. So they are working on tooling that makes this actually kind of easy. So doing anything else in between is, from my point of view, maybe constrained to helping with the chicken and egg situation, right? So that this upstream CNB project has something where they can test whether whatever they are working on is actually the right way and working nicely. I would understand that.
so I can comment on that. There's still going to have to be some changes on the pack side because, like the way this is going to work is they're going to expect some folders where you have binaries. Since you're compiling stuff that's only going to run on certain platforms, you have to have a folder for ARM, a folder for AMD64, so that then you can then take those things and package them up with pack. So I think no matter what, some kind of change needs to be like you need to be preparing for the change one way or another. And if we do it with a script that eventually will be easily swapped out with the CNB upstream thing, that's fine. But I think having this discussion and kind of like plan right now is helpful, because then we can start preparing for it. And then as soon as that tool is ready, we might like, it might all kind of converge at the same time, or we end up using some script that, you know, uses like manifests and Crane and Scopio to do stuff. No matter what, some of the stuff will, you know, we'll have to still have to compile binaries for different architectures, put them in certain folder structures, decide what we're publishing, you know, for releases and all that stuff. So I think like all this discussion, I think probably needs to be captured maybe in this RFC, and that might be the best use for this. Because like we know we need to publish multi-arch images. That's easy, check. It's the rest of the stuff that's complicated. So
Should
Yeah,
the
it's not good.
RFC,
Yeah, go on.
I was gonna say, should the RFC reference this other one that is being worked upstream and say like, here's what it says we're gonna have to do, and so that's how we're like, how are we implementing those requirements versus like coming up with our own stuff? It would be like they've defined like, hey, you got to put these things in these 3 directories. Okay, we're gonna move towards putting those things in the 3 directories, even if one of them's empty and is just x86 today, right? And then like that seems like a logical way to make sure we extend what they're doing or make the changes that we're going to use versus inventing something new.
I mean, I feel like in some ways we are playing both sides of the negotiation here. It seems like I think that Jericho might be our inside man on that. So I think that I feel like we might have a lot of leeway insofar as what we lead out in Paketo may just happen to be what comes out on the pack side or on the CNB side.
Yeah.
exactly, you definitely have an opportunity to influence and make this as helpful as possible. And if you know, like basically all that's being developed right now, and I'm going to be working on a project regularly with Juan, who's like the primary author of it. So you have a seat at the table.
I guess my only question would be like, has Heroku had any feedback on the ARM64 conundrum? Because Heroku or Google, because if I'm thinking of other sort of large build pack projects, I would probably bullet those 3 out.
Yeah, so I created a PR into the Pack CLI to start adding architectures by default, and Heroku, they use primarily shell build packs, and so I think that that's going to break their stuff because they rely on the fact that the architecture is empty. And I guess I didn't realize this, but if the architecture is empty and it's a shell script, you can just pull it down on any architecture as long as it's Linux, and it will work. So I'm kind of learning as I go here. But yeah, anyways, they did chime in, so we need to basically have an escape hatch somehow. I haven't really worked out how that's going to work yet, but yeah.
Okay. I think, yeah, I think that sounds good, but I think to maybe end on the actionable piece, like laying out in this RFC the actual like you have to compile the bits have to go here, they have to end up in this kind of structure, and then they'll end up as this is the final artifact that's being pushed to X registry. Like that workflow I think is the important part that I would want to understand, because yeah, ARM64 is going to happen. We have like resolved this metadata dependencies thing in the other RFC, and now just having an understanding of where the artifacts need to go, I think, is the last piece of the puzzle.
Okay, cool.
Could that be, for what it's worth, an interesting move? Like we I think in the dependency metadata RFC we thought already that we might want to influence upstream to just make that default for every build pack that has dependency metadata. Maybe it's a way to influence that as well. Like, I mean, you will have to figure out for which architecture certain dependencies are, right? Anyway, just a thought.
I will say I have tried in the past and failed epically to influence what metadata dependencies look like.
Okay.
It's the sort of thing where as long as your build pack can identify the architecture and then make the decisions that it wants to make, CNB does not care.
Okay.
Yeah. Agreed.
Awesome. All right. Is there anything else that we would like to discuss on this proposal for publishing multi-arch build packs?
I guess the last thing I'll say is I have we have scripts where we're like everyone can write scripts. We're already kind of doing a lot of this stuff internally, and we're just basically modifying build pack toml and doing a sed replace and checking for ARM64 versions of the dependencies. So I don't know if we're trying to publish stuff, but if you guys wanted to publish some stuff, we have some tooling that we can share, but it's not all written and go. So anyways, if there's interest, just let me know.
I think that any scripts that you're willing to share at this point that do work towards making ARM64 like publishable would be something that we would be interested in seeing.
Okay.
And by we, I think just like the broader community as well.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's fine. Maybe I'll continue the discussion in Slack. I mean, I think I can share these things, but the only real way for me to share it is to just have a repo that we do it on, or a build pack that we do it on, and just create a branch and be like, here you go, take a look. But yeah, I'm happy to do that.
That's good. All right. Is there anything else? I think that brings us to the end of the open RFCs. So we can get back into CNB updates and questions. I don't have any CNB updates as it stands.
I think I gave mine in that discussion.
Project updates. No major project updates. Go 122 is live. It's kind of a small update, but you know.
We started to work on the Noble full stack. So there should be a fork now where the work is started. I'm not entirely sure if the colleagues are already looking into multi-arc support of Jam, but I think even if they don't, that should probably be something that is done right after that. So when this is there, I might ping maybe Eureka about what would need to be done there, or add Daniel to that in terms of that. So we might start with a AMD 64 version of it, and like I guess next step will then be a Buildpacks builder, also full. Idea behind going for full is that basically actually gets every build pack in a position where they can start testing Noble integration. What I've also put already onto our backlog is looking into building CPython and pip for Noble once we reach that, to get Python actually on there. I guess that's the thing. I've put that into the backlog because we don't know anything about it, like how the projects are currently building that. I guess for the Node build packs, it's far easier because it's just dependencies from somewhere. For Java, it's even more easy because there's probably no dependency at all to the underlying Ubuntu. I don't know if that's for Node. Maybe it's the same. Like, doesn't care about that. Yep.
In terms of Python or something else?
No, Node. I meant Node. Python is compiled by the Paketo project. That's why you probably want to compile it with a Noble underneath. I don't know if it makes a difference, but I won't put it to the test. I'll just create binaries for Noble instead of figuring out if you don't have to build them specifically for an LTS version. We'll just do it. But for Node, I guess it's just whatever's there for Linux, I guess, and not depending on the
Yeah, the build packs currently pull in, like for the UBI ones, it depends on the stack because we do the DNF install, but yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. That's a great update. Any other project updates?
I have just another plug for my CPython pull request. I think
I
somebody commented on it.
Yeah, so I talked briefly with Arjun about it. I think I can't comment deeply on it. I'm not particularly intimately familiar with that build system. I think the main issue, and maybe this is like he's laid this out. I am not super super up to date on it. Is it's us modifying the artifact, or like in some way the artifact that is produced after a build, like after we do a compilation, is something that I think we're a little bit dicey or touchy on. I think one of the things that we were trying to do when we did our really big dependency rework was try and remain about as close to delivering the product from upstream as possible, anywhere possible. And so modifying it beyond the bounds of what Python, the project itself, is doing might be I think it's going to be it's going to be touchy, because that's pulling us into the realm of being more responsible for the way that our Python artifact looks, as opposed to the one that you would get from upstream.
I got you. Yeah. So I did get some feedback along those lines, and I think the consensus was maybe we would do this if there was an environment variable that kind of like controlled whether you would did this or not. So I changed it to basically be opt-in only and configurable through an environment variable. So just bringing it up so that somebody can take a look and
and so in that case, in order to get this, you would have to be compiling your own version at build time, and then also be setting this opt-in, or
No.
would we be deleting setup tools from the artifact after install if this opt-in was set?
This is primarily, I'm testing this on the non-compiled, it's the artifact that's already pre-compiled.
Okay.
So like
Okay.
if you're downloading, Python that's pre-compiled. It's a good question on whether or not when you compile, do you have a broken version of CPython? I'll have to do this and take a look. But yeah, it's basically opt-in, period.
Okay.
Nothing changes. The only time something would change is if you change that, if you opted in. Otherwise, you get the same behavior.
Cool. That feels better.
Yeah,
I can't comment on whether or not that's like what the maintainers want, but I imagine that'll probably get you a little bit more out of a pickle.
Cool. Yeah.
All right.
That's all right. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Out of curiosity, did we ever try to reach out to the CPython maintainers whether they would consider publishing binaries so that we don't have to build them at all? It's like all the for Java and Node, it's so easy, right, to just package up what others have built, and there we need to build it.
Are we referring to like the Python community itself?
Well, specifically CPython, as that is the choice of Python implementation that we package. There are even others, I think. So maybe there are even some that publish binaries. So that could be another consideration to add a non-CPython but other Python implementation thing there. But I thought that might be too big of a step, and we probably have a reason to have chosen CPython, and maybe it would just be about reaching out and figuring out if. Maybe they just don't do it because I don't know what, it's mostly used in the context of Linux distributions that anyway have packages for it, and so there was never seen a reason to do it, because like Canonical would probably compile it themselves, Red Hat would compile it themselves for packaging, for providing their packages, so no reason was seen to publish a binary.
Well, from what it takes to do that and keep them working, and risks associated with like shipping a single binary, I can understand why no project who doesn't need to would do it.
Okay.
Like, it takes specific compilers and tools. Otherwise, like your single binary doesn't run on, Linux distros and all that.
Yeah. I was just raising the question, if we ever reached out, if we just accepted this to be a fact and live with it.
As far as I know, we never reached out to anyone. It was just, I don't know why we chose to use CPython specifically, but yeah, when it when we were redoing all the dependency stuff. If there was something available that we could use, we just used it. I don't think it went any further than that. So it could be
Yeah.
worthwhile.
Guess the other, like, the other alternative with extensions now is just to have an extension that gets it from the operating system.
Which is like, I think the CPython build pack currently provides 4 different versions of Python, which is probably not available in the package registries.
Yeah,
but
okay,
maybe.
that kind of thing you might not get with certainly
Yeah.
distros.
Okay. Anything else for project updates? I have 2 things that I pulled from future topics that were on the previous week, but no one was there to claim them. Are either of these notes left by anyone here that would like to speak to them? If not, I can put them back into future topics.
Isn't the first one resolved? Like there was a period of time where the Slack was gone and then it came back.
I think this is around the slack.paketo.io link that
Okay.
doesn't currently function the way that it should.
Is it still not functioning?
I've been trying to hunt down where there's like sorry, my brain is scrambled. There's a like VM or a container running somewhere that has a piece of code on it that gets the invitation link every like 30 days or whatever you need to do, because that's how Slack works. And that exists somewhere, and I do not know where. So I've been trying to hunt that down. I may need to reach out to Chris Clark, because it may be in the Paketo Buildpacks GCP project, and I believe that he has access to that. I think that there's still some work going on to get the Paketo community project up and running, but I believe that he has access to the Paketo Buildpacks one. Yeah, that's I need to reach out to Chris Clark about that, or someone does. I don't know. And then note, this working group meeting and notes allows anonymous write permissions. May want to change that to at most allow suggestions. I don't know who this is from, which is ironic. But
Yeah, that's the whole point, I think, is
but I don't know. I feel like part of the point of this document is to allow anyone from the community to show up and leave topics and sign in and take notes and that sort of thing. So I don't know how we would go about managing this in anywhere close to an effective way.
Is like if I recall correctly, there's at least a setting to just not allow anonymous access, still give everyone write access, but only if they are logged in. Like that doesn't really prevent spamming in full, right? Because you can create email accounts if you want to, but it at least adds another hurdle. I think the Istio community had something that was based on self-registration in Google Groups, right? Whoever just self-registered there got like some kind of permission. But like I like the idea of not allowing anonymous spam, at least. Like I'm not sure if that's really helping, but it's at least preventing somebody to just drop in and do something. I don't know.
That's fair. If you want, I'm maybe, knock on wood, we haven't really had an issue with this, but if it's something that you would be interested in looking into, Jan, I'd be fine with that.
I don't even know how. Like I tried to use the like I don't know with what user I would have to log in. I tried to log into Google with the Paketo Buildpacks at gmail.com thing, and I'm currently stuck in getting my verification code to what looks like a VMware email address, like with a lot of stars, of course, but it starts with VM ***.com.
That's interesting.
So I don't know. I wouldn't know how to log in. Like I got the password from password one, but from one password, but it's also not that this is an important topic. Although wasn't the Google Doc moved? Wasn't that another one of these affected artifacts?
Yeah, so I
the
moved it
broad
and
one?
I moved it and it's owned by the Paketo Buildpacks account now.
Okay.
I'm surprised that the two-factor verification is going through that. I'll take a look and see what I can do because I thought that Chris Clark owned that account fully. So that's something to call out to him as well.
All right.
All right. Any other open mic discussion questions or questions or discussion topics? All right. Great. See y'all.
All right. See you. Thanks.
Bye.
See ya.